Welcome back to the show. This is OGH today here on GHOne TV. I always say that the things that go on behind the scenes, you guys have no idea. It's exciting. But this morning we talk about the price of activism here in Ghana. Activism started not today. We've seen the days of Kumi Preko. We've seen the days of Wongbo. We've seen the days of Let My Vote Count. Today it is Stop Galamsey. But some protesters were arrested. What led to the arrest? Days in incarceration. What was their ordeal? Their bail has been granted. What's the way forward? Oliver Bakavamo is still in incarceration. What's it with Oliver? But let's talk about somebody who is neck deep in this activism. She was once a time a media practitioner. I wonder why she hung her cloak. But maybe someday she'll take it back. Felicity Nelson is my guest. Philly, good morning.
Good morning, Lily.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good, as always. Well, for God and country.
Yes.
But let's talk about you being part of Fix the Country. Now there's Democracy Hub. At what points did we see Democracy Hub come into fruition?
Honestly, Democracy Hub probably, because Fix the Country just started, honestly, Fix the Country just started as a protest movement, right? So just like organizing protests, agitating. And then for Democracy Hub, there's so many other things that happens. So for example, we have a few suits against the government. At the moment, there's one against the EC. We've got, so there's legal stuff that we're doing. So certain things, when we want to take up legal fights, that comes under the Democracy Hub umbrella.
Okay.
So there's other things that we're doing outside of organizing protests. So we needed like a more professional name, because actually, to be honest with you, we couldn't actually register. The Registrar General would not allow us to register Fix the Country.
Why?
I don't know. They just, we've never been able to actually officially register it as an entity. So of course, but Democracy Hub, we have been able to register it as an entity. So these kind of things make you have to you have to adjust. And so that's the reason why the Democracy Hub, and because it does more than just protests. Yeah.
Let's talk about your activism. When did you decide that I want to go into full-time activism? I think this is my calling.
I think I've always always been an activist, even from a very young age. I think I'm a gender activist before anything else. I'm a feminist before anything else.
Yeah,
and
that we've always known about you.
And as a child, I just would always notice like the disparities between how we treat girls and how we treat boys, even in terms of like the responsibilities. I remember being about 7, 8 years old, and I would remember like when we're playing, all the girls will come and be called back into the kitchen. And then, so instantly I'm like, it's not, and the boys would be allowed to still keep playing. And I'll just think, it's not fun to be a girl. You know, as a child, that was like the child, but I just knew that's
Where did you grow up?
I grew up from the age of 6 to 12. I was in Ghana, so I was here from the age of 6 to 12. And then from 12 to 24, I was in the UK, and I came back. Yes, I've been back since 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How has it been since you came back? I mean, you say at a young age of 7, you saw the disparity. Coming back, was it still the same?
Oh, definitely. I was still coming back on holidays anyway. I don't think, and we've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of work to be done. You know, gender equality. There's always going to be different parts. Like once upon a time, send your girl child to school was a big thing. You know, it was a radical thing. People fought against it. Now it's not radical to say send your girl child to school. Literally, you know, in terms of the number of girls in schools, very high. Women getting PhDs, masters, all of that stuff. So there's other issues that we've moved on to beyond sending your girl child to school. So like now we'll talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. We'll talk about the disparities in terms of like the gender pay gap. We'll talk about the fact that, you know, the barriers of entry for women in the political space, and even the kind of attacks that women face in the political space, or women who have a voice, you know, media women. If you dare to have a voice, if you're a woman, you're treated differently than men are. You can say the exact same thing as a man would say, but then you'll be treated differently. So it's just, there's always going to be different things to advocate for.
Some have argued that Democracy Hub, Fix the Country, is just an offshoot of the NDC.
Okay, so first of all, does Democracy Hub have people that support the NDC? Of course, it's a political party in the country. I'm not sure that there's anything barring anyone from joining a political party. or supporting a political party. We all have a right. So I think that argument is null and void. And there's also people like, for example, Nee, who was arrested with me, is actually the Greater Accra Communications Director for Movement for Change. That's literally his current position. That's what he's doing. And if we're going to be honest, a lot of people who support Movement for Change are actually more disappointed MPP voters than NDC people. That's the reality. So I don't like to pay too much attention to that argument because I feel like we move away from the issues. For me, it's like if I'm saying that, for example, we have Dumso, your question is not, oh, do you support NDC or MPP? Your question should be, does Dumso exist? Is what Felicity's saying, is it true? Is it valid? Because we allow ourselves to get distracted with politics and then we leave the issues.
Exactly. Let's talk about the fight against Galamsey. When did you decide, or the group decide that enough is enough? Let's talk about this. Let's raise awareness. Let's go on the streets.
Okay, so as at July, on a personal level, this is probably the first time anyone will hear this, Oliver and I, he was saying he wanted to organize this demonstration on constitutional review. And then I was like, what? Who are you talking to? It's too broad, it's too ambiguous. We need an issue that, you know, it's much more people-centered. Like for me, I feel like all the time you need to think people-centered. And when you say constitutional review, it's just people are not going to get it, people are not going to understand it. There's too much to explain. So let's look at another issue that's a bit more critical. So for me, it was actually the Ghana Water Company when they issued that statement regarding their struggles with water and how Galamsey is going to impede their ability to actually provide water for Ghanaians. For me, that was my call to action.
Did it hit you that, well, someday we may have to import water?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not even just about importing the water. It's the fact that, you know, water is literally life. It's absolutely critical. It isn't something that we can do without. So the fact that there's children now in these villages where Galamsey is rampant, where they're drinking this water that's already infected, you know, which is already all these toxins are going into their bodies, where there's babies being born in these Galamsey areas who are being born with birth defects simply because of the toxins that their mothers are ingesting whilst pregnant or before being pregnant. The health implications. For me, as I'm a mother myself, and when I think about the health implications, the fact that it's affecting children already, babies, innocent babies, for me, I feel like I need to do something. I can't be silent. Sometimes I actually genuinely wish that I didn't care because it's so tiring, it's so exhausting, because always having to be the voice, and you pay for it, you know. But it's just like I can't help myself when I just can't help to not think about other people and think, okay, how is this affecting other people? But honestly, with the Galamsey thing, it's not just affecting other people. The reality is that when food is coming from those Galamsey areas, it's not as if they're going to have like a sign on them saying that this food was grown with water that, you know, has cyanide or arsenic or, you know, any of those toxins. You're not going to see that. So if I'm going to buy plantain, I'm buying yam, I'm buying anything that's grown in this country, there's a risk. I run the risk of me ingesting these things myself. My family runs the risk. And so for me, it was extremely important that I get involved because it's not just going to affect me. It can affect me and it can affect anybody.
Let's talk about the day of the protest and your arrest. Processes leading to the arrest and then the arrest itself.
Okay, so I was at the protest this is on the Sunday. So I was there on the Saturday, which was day one. I was also there on day two. So day two, I was in the morning, I was home when I saw like people had started being arrested and stuff like that. That was actually when I said, oh no, like what's happening? Let me leave the house and go and see I was planning to go, but I wasn't ready yet. I was going to go at some time during the day. But the minute I saw people had been arrested and I'd seen all these videos and stuff, I'm like, no. Let me leave the house and see what's happening. And I get there around 1-ish, 2-ish, and there's literally just a few people there. So I'm like, around 3, I'm like, oh, let me do a Facebook Live to tell people that, you know, it's safe for them to come and the police are here, everything's safe, everything's calm. At the moment, there's no arrest anymore, you know. That kind of drama in the morning had already gone. As I'm doing this Facebook Live, I just see the police approaching me. So I actually turned like my phone towards the police saying, oh, like, you know, the police are coming. Because again, I'm standing like on the side of the road. I am, you know, doing a Facebook Live. There's about 10 of us, maybe. And we're all like peaceful, nothing's happening. Nothing dramatic's happening. So as the police are approaching, in my head, I know I'm not doing anything wrong, so I don't need to run or anything. So they come, as soon as they come, they're like, take her phone, take her phone, take her phone. they wrestle my phone out. They start pushing. I say, like, you know, hey, let's go. And I just stop and I say, you don't need to push me. If you want me to walk somewhere, you can just say, oh, can you walk this way? Or because for me at this point, again, it's just a conversation. I'm thinking they're probably just going to say, you guys should go home or whatever. I see, you know, one of the policemen hit Amma, governor, on the back, because she was right next to me. And as this is happening, a female officer comes along and she holds my hand and says, these were all male officers, by the way, and says to them, leave her alone, I'll take her myself. So she holds me. We sit down. They take us to this section right in front of 37, and they give us seats, and I refuse to even sit down because I'm thinking, why the hell am I here? Then they start, you know, taking everybody's phones. So I'm asking, why are you taking people's phones? And then I said, well, even if you're taking the phones, you're not asking people's names. So how would you be able to identify whose phone is which is which? All of a sudden, this guy sitting in one of the chairs is shouting, I'm not one of them, I'm not one of them, I'm not a protester. My wife just gave birth in the police, in the 37 hospital. And if you don't believe me, you can come with me. Two of your officers can come with me and we can go and check. I'm not a protester. And I looked at him and I realized I'd never seen this man before. So I said, oh, actually, he's not one of us. So please, like, one of you should just go with him. And because I'm just imagining, like, this woman that's just given birth, her husband stepped outside, and then, you know, he's being taken by the police, or she wouldn't know where he's gone. She's calling him, you know, because the police had his phone at the time. So I just can't imagine how distressed she's going to be feeling. So I was like, and they just told him to shut up, and they bundled us all into the police van. We get to the central police station. They just say, you go to this station, you go to that station. I ended up at the railways. So at this point, remember, I've not been told anything about I'm under arrest. I actually asked when I was taken to the police headquarters, am I under arrest? The one policeman looked at me. If at this point you don't know that you're under arrest, then I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry if you haven't come to the realization that you're under arrest, then I feel sorry for you. So I was just like, I get to the police station, they tried to take my...
On the day you were being picked up, did you resist arrest?
No. Because for me, was it an arrest? Let me ask that question. Was it even an arrest? Because at no point was I told I'm under arrest. They would just take her phone, pushing me, grabbing me, moving me towards this direction, sat down. Nothing. There was no information whatsoever regarding the fact that we're under arrest, what we're under arrest for. So there was no resisting. Because I was quite intrigued. I thought we were going to have a conversation. Even though they were being aggressive, I genuinely thought we were going to have a conversation because I knew I wasn't doing anything wrong at the time, and nobody who was standing there at the time was doing anything wrong. And they picked up random people who are not even part of the protest. So as far as I'm concerned, they're probably just going to give us some information, and then we're going to be on our way.
And then, how many days did you spend in incarceration?
17 days.
17 days.
So that's 2
Where?
weeks. So the first 2 days I was at Railways Police Station. And the third day, I was at GHOne. And then for the next 14 days, I was at cantonments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the first time you were taken to court, what was the prosecutor's argument? The state prosecutor's argument?
So the first day we went to court, okay, let me just add the fact that when you're arrested, you're supposed to be produced before a court within 48 hours. I was actually not produced before court. It went beyond that time. So like I was taken on the third day. So I just want to put that out there. When we got to court, the prosecutor was just like, our lawyers argued for bail, and the prosecutor like basically disagreed that they opposed it. And the judge was immediately like, yep, you're going to, we had a 2-day court session because our lawyers had to go through each person's particular situation, why they need to be granted bail, why...
All 53 of you?
No, that was 13 of us.
Okay.
In the courtroom, there was 13 of us. And then the judge was just like, yeah, remand until the 8th of October.
So let's look at your moments in incarceration, treatment.
Okay, so the first cell, Railways, when I walked in, I was in shock. It was so dark. There's no lights in there. So the light is from, like, if you want any lights coming from the corridor where the police officers are, it's like this is what you'd call the counter back. That's where the lights are. So in the cell itself, there's no light, and there's like very small holes for ventilation. It reminded me of being, every time I've been to any of the slave dungeons, like in Cape Coast or Elmina, it was the smell in there, it was just like that. And my first thought was, wow, I can't believe they bring people here, like, this is how they treat slaves. like I felt instantly, like I felt like a slave. And the water wasn't flowing.
Okay.
So there was no water flowing. So if you want to...
That was at railways?
Yes, if you want water, you have to buy, like, so the inmates there they would buy pure water and use it for everything. So if you want to, or that's what you have to do. There's no
So
water
who
flowing.
was buying the pure water for them, the sachet water? Who was buying
So if they have family members, well-wishers, like myself, you know, my family brought water. And so, like, basically, even to kind of wipe myself down or even use the washroom. I tried to avoid using the washroom, but I had to, like, literally take sachet waters, each one, and put it into a bucket. And then that was how you would, like, shower or do anything.
How many of you were in the cells?
In the female cells, there's not a lot of people. So in the initial one, there was 2 other women.
Okay.
And then when I went to GHOne, initially I was alone. And in GHOne, the toilet itself is non-functional. And apparently it's been blocked for about 4 months. So, like, everything is still in there. So you can, between the cell and the loo, there's no door. So if you're in there, the stench, it's unbelievable.
And how many days were you there?
I was there for one night,
Okay.
for 1 day, yeah.
Okay.
I was there for 1 day. And
were you, at any point in your incarceration, were you manhandled, abused, verbally, physically?
So let me start with one of the stations when I got there, when I got to GHOne, they wouldn't allow me to make a phone call to let my family know where I was, let my lawyer, because so nobody actually knew where I was. So
Why? Did you question why?
Of course I questioned. They just said, basically, they don't give you answers. They just say, no, you're not allowed. I don't know if it was like an order that was given to them or if they were acting on their own, but this is something that was consistent in every station. And when I spoke to the other people that were arrested, this is something that's quite common. And as I was in the cell, I spoke to other inmates who had been there, you know, some for years and whatever. And it's quite a common occurrence that the police can actually detain you and they will strip you of your right to contact anybody. So I actually started wondering, all these people that we see that are missing, how do we know they're not, like, stuck in a police cell somewhere and the police has not allowed them to contact anyone? So that's the first, like, term of abuse. I wasn't allowed to call my lawyer. And when I was at GHOne police station, and when I got to a station, I was at cantonments. When I initially got there, I said I'm asthmatic, so I need, like, my inhaler. So I need to call my family. They said, well, you can't call your family. I said, like, I really need to, because it's, you know, they need to know I'm here, and then I need my inhaler. They said no.
So let me get this straight. So when you went to railways, you were not allowed to contact your family, and then
at railways, the CID allowed me to contact my family. So I got one phone call.
Okay.
Yes. So railways, I was allowed to do that.
Okay.
So this was just a theme in GHOne and cantonments.
Okay.
Yes.
So at GHOne and cantonments, your final place was at cantonments.
Cantonments, yeah.
You were not allowed to contact any family.
Initially.
For how many days?
Well, they managed to find out I was there, so I didn't actually get to. So they found out I was there, and there was, like, in a way they couldn't deny I was there. So then they came the next day. After the first night, they were there the next day. So I didn't actually get to contact them. They just found out through the grapevine that I was there. So the next morning they came over.
When your family saw you there, didn't they question why you're doing this?
No. So my dad especially, we're very close, and he's someone who I speak to him a lot about my activism. He understands. He's very supportive of it. So that's one thing I'm very grateful for, that I don't have a family that's like, why are you doing this? You know, because that's just who I am. That's just who I am. That's just who I am, and I'm glad that I've got a family that accepts me for who I am. So my family were very supportive throughout the process. You know, my sister, my friends, my closest friends, everyone who's around me, my close circle, is very supportive of me, because they just know that I can't, when I see injustice, I just can't help myself. And it's something I do everywhere, anytime. It doesn't have to be for a protest. It could be I'm walking down the street and I see something, I'm like, this is off. I'm going to say something.
During those 17 days, you say your mother, did you see your child?
No, so I asked them not to bring him to the station, but I did write him a letter for it to be handed to him.
Was it worth it?
Yes.
What was in the letter?
To my son,
Yes.
just, you know, telling him that I'm fine, I'm checking up on him, I hope he's studying.
But did he know you were behind
Yes,
bars?
because when I was when I got to make a phone call at Railways, his number is the only number I have in my head. So I called him to call my dad to let him know I'd been arrested. So he was actually the first person I had to break the news to, but because it was like...
How old is he?
He's 15.
Okay.
Because there was no, like, it was a policeman's phone, there was no chance to kind of like even emotionally kind of ease him into it. It was literally like,
Prep him.
hello, I've been arrested, call granddad. Like, there was nothing, like, which I feel really bad for, because I feel like if you're going to break news like that, you probably need to be a bit more, but there was just no time for it. I just had to be super quick and just let him know and just pass the information on and just make sure he had the right information.
When you came, during the court sessions, I'm sure your family was there.
Yeah.
Was your son there
No,
too?
no.
He was not there throughout
No,
the process. But as a mother, if you look at what you've gone through the process, do you think it is worth it?
Yes.
What if you had died in custody? Did you think about your son?
I did think about him, but I can't just, he can't be the only thing I think about. But this is bigger than him, because even if I'm protecting him from me, I could die from eating food that's got these toxins in them. I could die from drinking water or medication being mixed. I could die anywhere. I could be hit by a car. So this idea that, you know, if I don't do anything, I'm going to be safe. I'm not going to be safe. I'm not. Every single Ghanaian is at risk. When it comes to Galamsey, we're all at risk. So this idea that, oh, if you're silent, then you'll be safe. You're not safe. Nobody's safe.
On the number of times you were denied bail, what was going through your head?
Well, I think the first I was denied bail, like I was shocked, because again, I'm thinking, you know, I thought I was doing the right thing. I'm protesting against Galamsey. At no point did I think I'm going to be in a jail cell for 17 days. That wasn't just, I was in shock. But at the same time, I just felt like, okay, if this is what's happening, that's fine. Maybe this is going to bring the attention of Ghanaians to the Galamsey issue, because if you look at our attendance at the initial Galamsey protest, there was very little attention, few people were in attendance. But subsequently, after we were not granted bail, a lot more interest. I saw that the media was doing a lot more on the Galamsey issue. People are having conversations about Galamsey. So for me, it was like, if this means that it's going to put Galamsey on the agenda, people are going to be having the right conversations, decisive action is going to be taken, then that's fine. Then that's worth it.
We've seen revised attention on Galamsey. Do you think your incarceration was worth the fight?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think that the actions being taken now are enough. I think that the president can do more.
What more do you want the president to do?
So first of all, I think there should be a moratorium in terms of like issuing mining licenses immediately. He should declare a state of emergency within like forest reserves and around areas where there's water bodies. That should be done. So those two things are the main things I think he should be done. I think we need to move beyond, and then we need to start looking at ensuring that if people are mining, for example, part of the licenses, how much they're paying, is some kind of amount of money that they need in order to restore the environment. So if it's the soil, if it's the water bodies, so that we have to make it more expensive. So that before you decide to mine, it has to be worth your while. And if you're going to damage our environment, you need to pay for it. We shouldn't allow you to just go and mine without having like a cost. It shouldn't be a cost to the state. It should be a cost to the person who's going to gain financially from that mine.
When is your next court appearance?
24th of November.
If tomorrow you go to court...
October.
October. If you're finally cleared, would you go back and protest again?
Yes. Yes. Why would I not protest? I think that if me going out to protest has led to all of these conversations, you know, the Catholic Church, you know, organized labor, the Catholic Church going out to do their peace walk on Galamsey, every single thing has been worth it. Every Ghanaian person who has paid more attention to Galamsey and become more knowledgeable about it, it's been absolutely worth it. I don't see why I wouldn't want to do that again. Like, I don't do this for me, I do this for Ghana. This is not about me at all. So if it's in Ghana's interest, I am down for it.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming. But when are you returning to the media? Maybe you should channel the energy in fighting say through the media. When are you returning to the media?
I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. You've done a fantastic job. So I think those of you doing, like, you guys do that while I do this.
Anyway, thank you very much. So that's Felicity Nelson. She's a social justice activist. She says she will still go out there and protest because she wants things to happen in Ghana. She wants critical and radical change in the country.